Shalom. Shalom and welcome. Welcome to the third episode of the final Exodus. Countdown 2023. If you're tuning in for the first time, my name is Symmanayah, and these are the words I'm compelled to present before an awakening set-apart nation. Let me say this, Yashar'al. I'm just another man. I'm your brother, if you are one who is drawn by the Almighty Creator Yahuah to Yahusha Mashiach, as it is written. Many people fail to realize that it is the stirring power, it is the magnificent power of the Almighty Father who chooses whom he will draw to his living word that came to us in the name of Yahusha Mashiach, the name of Yahusha. We say HaMashiach as in the Messiah. Whether you're black or white, whether you Latino, Hispanic, a Spanish origin, French, European origin, German, Ghanaian, Jamaican, Chinese, Australian, whatever nationality you're from, if you are drawn by the Almighty Father to Yahusha Mashiach, then you are indeed my brother or my sister. And these words are to you. For there will be a final exodus. There will be a gathering of 144,000, along with a great multitude as mentioned in Revelation 7th chapter. Many people fail to acknowledge the 9th verse, and I believe it's the 13th verse, that talks about a great multitude of many nations, kindreds, and tongues. There are those who have a hard time acknowledging who the true Hebrews or Abraham are. They are drawn by the Almighty Father, but they must be disciplined to accept that they are grafted in as one, those who are drawn by him. And there are true Hebrews who have a hard time accepting the Gentile, the Goyim, other nations that are grafted into the body of Yashar'al. And they take the scripture that say you're neither Jew nor Greek, Hebrew nor Gentile, and think we should not pay attention to who the true Hebrews are. That's speaking of the spirit of a man. Once we take off these garments of flesh, there is no Hebrew or Gentile, Abraham or Goyim. We are one in Messiah, those who are drawn by him to Yahusha Mashiach. But until such time, we are to recognize that oneness in spirit is there, but we are also to recognize that the physical chosen children of Yashar'al must be identified, recognized, and acknowledged. So whatever nationality you're in, if you claim to be set apart, if you claim to be drawn by the Almighty Father, you must accept, and you will accept, those who must fulfill specific end-time prophecies that would include acknowledging the true 12 tribes of Yashar'al. My brothers and sisters, in this third installment, I want to talk about the beginning and the end, who is Yahuah, spirit, everywhere, at all times. But I want to say to you about this. Many of you may doubt the countdown as 2023. So in unbelief, consider this. There are some things said that will come to their appointed time, because there are people who misquoted times, got years and days wrong, seasons wrong. It doesn't mean that there will not come a time when the time will be right. There will come a season when the times and dates will be right. Now, sure, no man knows the day nor the hour of the return of the Mashiach, Yahusha. But the season, the signs of the times are there for us to know that it is close. For you, Yashar'al, I did a series, and I mentioned it before, called The Closing Scroll. I would encourage you to read it. And I would say to you this: if you begin to see forced movement greater than what you're witnessing now, people moving from their prospective countries towards the promised land. For the Western Hemisphere, we already see massive migration from across the South, from Central America and South America to the United States. We even see, and they don't talk about it, but we even see people from Canada moving to the United States. And I submit to you, as the scrolls close, those in the western part of the United States will be forced to move towards the eastern part. And ultimately, those who have been chosen by the Almighty Father will move across the Atlantic Ocean to the Promised Land, the land that has been given to us by the Almighty Father. There are those who are wicked who will be moved to the region where life began as well. For there will be those who will mount up and gather in the valley of Megiddo to march against the true children of Yashar'al. But the habitable places on the planet will become uninhabitable. Look around and begin putting X's on areas that are becoming less and less habitable on this planet. And you will see the actions occurring. And I will say to you this: if between now and December 21st, 2023, the month that is known as December, the 21st day of 2023, between now and then, and that month is our 8th month, it's our true 8th month, O Yashar'al. If you begin to see leaders speak and say, move, for the mountains are about to collapse. Move, for the waters are beginning to turn to blood. Move, because conditions of famine, pestilence, and disease will be most intense on the west coast of the northern hemisphere. When you see individuals speak these words and they begin to happen, maybe you've waited too late. If you take heed to these words, you will begin your preparations and begin movement now. My recommendations is to leave the western part of the United States and begin, if you are Yashar'al, true set-apart Yashar'al, and begin journeying towards the state of Virginia, the Commonwealth of Virginia. My recommendations, if at the very least you are within 24 to 48 hours from the state of Virginia, preferably 24 hours or less. You see, my brothers and sisters, as things begin to ramp up, if people begin to see that end times are here, that servants, leaders of the Almighty Father are beginning to execute judgment, the judgment that is necessary for the world leaders to release the children of Yashar'al, to let the people of Yashar'al go without inhibition to the land that is promised them. When these individuals begin to speak, if you wait too late and the world recognizes the world is ending, you may find yourself caught in congestion. You may find yourself facing physical death. There will be those who will be ordered to shelter in place in prospective parts of the world to be the last voice from the Spirit of the Almighty Father Yahuah to Yahusha. With that said, Yashar'al, if you see things intensifying, you'll know then that the words I speak regarding 2023 are correct. If nothing happens and everything remains the same, then know that I am misled. But all that stirs within me, O Yashar'al, all that I believe he has done for me in guiding me and steering me, do my flesh war against the spirit? Indeed it does. There is that battle. Do I stumble and fall? Will I make mistakes? Indeed. But I am compelled to believe at this point, O Yashar'al, the countdown for our deliverance has begun. I'm compelled to believe the great conjunction that I mentioned to individuals to search and look. You'll see an article with 1623. Mark 400 years from 1623 and you get 2023. O Yashar'al. 2023. Believe as you will, my brothers and sisters. We are the generation that's facing what's to come. Let's continue. The beginning and the end. Let me read this to you, my brothers and sisters. Revelation 1:8. I am the Aleph and the Tah, beginning and end, says Yahuah, who is, who was, and who is to come, the Almighty. It also states these words in Revelation 21:26. And he said to me, it is done. I am the Aleph and the Tah, the beginning and the end. To the one who thirsts, I shall give of the fountain of the water of life without payment. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al. Each day that we breathe marks a beginning. The day we take our last breath marks an end. From the beginning of creation marks a beginning. To Judgment Day marks an end. It is important to me, O Yashar'al, that as we prepare for the final Exodus, as we prepare for unity to be realized amongst those chosen by the Almighty Father, communications and language is most important. There was a time when man had one language, and they sought to build a tower to make a name for themselves. And the Almighty Father collapsed that tower and caused us to have different languages. And it is written in Zephaniah that we will return to the pure lip. Because that one verse says that there are many Hebrews and even non-Hebrews and those who are grafted in, set apart and non-set apart, who believe that in their awakening that they are pursuing, they are teaching, and that they know the true pure lip that Zephaniah speaks of. They are sadly mistaken. What most of them are teaching you is Aramaic Hebrew. That's not the pure lip. It's a Hebrew language that's been infused with Aramaic influence. And people might say, well, why will you attack the language and you have your name Symmanayah? Names are important, and throughout scriptures, names were important. And the Almighty Father changed names. But we were never instructed to start chasing after that one language. We are to wait on the Almighty Father. And then some look at Yiddish and think Yiddish is the true in the original Hebrew. It's not. Yashar'al. Let me digress for a moment. If I showed you a horse for transportation in this day and age, you would probably reject it for whatever reason. Wanting a car, or maybe a bicycle, or a skateboard, or a hoverboard, or a Segway, or any other type of mobile mechanical device. But some of us will understand that a horse is one of the simplest forms of transportation. And I submit to you in these end times, as things begin to collapse, as systems begin to break down, we will see that we will start looking at some of the basics of transportation ultimately. Some will witness it. Now you might say, what does this have to do with anything? I will say to you this, Yashar'al. From the languages that men received when the Tower, or what's known as the Tower Bible was, those languages flourished and changed. Do you know that Spanish speaking individuals and people in the South America, what we would say Hispanic or Latinos, the Spanish that they speak and the Spanish that's over in Europe have a different dialect? The English we speak and the English that's spoken in Europe, there are some differences in the way we use words. Even among ourselves, there are differences. You see, man has always succumbed to its greed and the fruit of its wickedness and forged more words, more languages, diverse ways of speaking. And I'm saying this to say, as end times come, when it talks about a great multitude of many nations, kindreds, and tongues, we will learn that gestures is a part of language. Look up the definition of language and you will see gestures in there. Gestures. In some cases, it might be just a grunt or a mumble. So the flourishing demonstrations we see of Hebrew that people think it's the true Hebrew, it's not. And let me say this, my brothers and sisters. I am familiar with linguistics, the pronunciations, and the dynamics it takes for one to learn specific languages and dialect. And as the days are shortened, you will see that we will learn how to communicate a drink or a food or warmth by our gestures. If an Asian person that does not know English, or English person that does not know Japanese or Chinese or Vietnamese, we will find a unified way of addressing the basics of needs: prayer, worship, water, breathing, safety, warmth. We will find ways to communicate with others, those who will be among different languages. Yashar'al, oh Yashar'al, know this: if you pursuing and looking up to someone because you think they know Hebrew, they are misleading you. And the time will come, as the Almighty Father brings his children together, how we are to communicate with one another. Let me continue. I want to read Genesis. Genesis chapter 11, verse 4 through 8. Come with me, O Yashar'al, as I read it. And they said, come, let us build ourselves a city and a tower, whose top is in the heavens, and make a name for ourselves, lest we be scattered over all the face of the earth. Then Yahuah came down to see the city and the tower which the sons of men had built. And Yahuah said, look, they are one people. They all have one language. And this is what they begin to do. And now they are not going to be withheld from doing whatever they plan to do. Come, let us go there and confuse their language so that they do not understand one another's speech. Yahuah scattered them from there over the face of all the earth, and they left off building the city. You see, it was Yahuah showed man out of the fruit of man's greed and misconceptions how they misinterpret the favor that they received from Yahuah, how they were deceived to thinking that they can do what they want to do, how they took one language for granted. So the fruit of that led to them, man, being confused. But I say to you, O Yashar'al, what's necessary to fulfill the final Exodus will prove to bring about means in which we communicate with one another, and will evolve into the pure lip, a lip that is anointed by the Almighty Father, a lip that will prove to consist of gestures and actions that spark directions to build us up in worship to the Almighty Father, to lift up Yahusha Mashiach and be drawn to him, as it is stated in the scriptures. Zephaniah 3, 7 through 9 reads, I have said, only fear me, accept instruction, and her dwelling would not be cut off, all that I have appointed for her. But they rose up early, they corrupted all their deeds. Therefore wait for me, declares Yahuah, until the day I rise up for plunder. For my judgment is to gather nations, to assemble rains, to pour out of them my rage, all my burning wrath. For by the fire of my jealousy all the earth shall be consumed. And then I shall turn unto the people a clean lip, so that they all call on the name of Yahuah to serve him with one shoulder. Many take this passage and believe they're teaching you Hebrew. Watch as the emergencies occur. During some of these tsunamis, hurricanes and thunderstorms, did you see Moray speaking fluent Hebrew, giving instructions to their flock on what to do, where to go, how to help one another? I don't think so. And you won't see it as end time destruction comes. They will not be saying, well, this is what the Hebrew says, and this is what this means. They will give you direct and precise instructions. Some correct instructions, some not so much. Yashar'al, the Almighty Father Yahuah, is the beginning. He's the end. He's the creator. He's the planter. He's the caretaker. He's the harvester. He is the Almighty One. Yashar'al, we must recognize in this final exodus, as the creator, a lot of things begin as a seed. And within that seed, things stirred within the seed, and then the seed died, bursting open, demonstrating life. The life that is given by the Almighty Father. The life that has been nurtured in our new beginnings as we bud and grow towards maturity, being nurtured by the Almighty Father. Understanding what it means by judgment begin at the house of Yahuah. He takes care of his children. He judges us to correct us, to bring us into the steps, into the actions we must be in, my brothers and sisters. There's a lot of things that we've been taught. And many people believe, well, everyone couldn't have gotten Shabbat wrong. Or the zit infringes. It's too many people believe that. Everyone couldn't have gotten when a day begins or end wrong. And everyone have not. But if you're judging when a day begins or end, if you're judging a new moon because everybody or the majority or that's the person or the group that you came into, you will find that these represent things that have gone astray, that cause divide. How we talk to one another, how we honor and worship the Almighty Father, how we guard Shabbat, knowing when, how we recognize the new moon, how we recognize the plan that the Almighty Father set out, and the blueprint that is nestled in the 7 major feast days that I speak of often. We will discover, O Yashar'al, that those who hang on to erroneous teachings because they've been taught so long and so widespread will find themselves yielding to correction, or they will find themselves as old wineskins, holding on to old teachings. You see, there are teachings that's been passed on for years, hundreds of years, that are wrong. But in these final days, O Yashar'al, as we face unity by the Almighty Father, we will come to understand what really is true. We will discern the voice of the Spirit of Yahuah. Send in Yahusha's name, and we will respond accordingly. Let me continue. The characteristics of harvest times. Harvest times represent something that was planted, grown, and when it reaches its maturity, when it reaches its time of end, time of purpose, then it is harvest. People don't realize that life and death represents the planting and the harvest. When our spirit is harvested from these bodies, and either go to rest wherever that place is the Almighty Father has for us, or to hell. Harvest times is an ongoing, growing event. And many of us think it's only one thing or another. Let me read the following to you, my brother, my sister. Yahusha answered and said to him, truly, truly, I say to you, unless one is born from above, he is unable to see the reign of the Almighty One. Born, the term born again, recognizing that you're being drawn by the Almighty Father, recognizing that you're a child of the Almighty Father, recognizing truthfully who you are. O set apart Yashar'al, Hebrews and Gentiles that are drawn, Gentiles grafted into the body of Hebrews as one by Yahusha HaMashiach, who is the word of the Almighty Father. Characteristics of a harvest, born, and then there will come a time when we will witness the gathering, a great harvest, a gathering of the saints. Proverbs 11:21 say, hand to hand the evil one does not go unpunished, but the seed of the righteous shall escape. The seed. Could he be talking about the children of Yashar'al? Could he be talking about the seed individuals who have been birthed for the purposes of fulfilling end-time prophecies and other things? Indeed. Let us not try to take the scripture and push it in the corner to mean just one thing. The seed of the righteous should escape. That doesn't mean that everyone will not face widespread destruction or death. For the scriptures say he reigned on the just and the unjust. But to the children of Yahuah, these earthen bodies going back to the earth, this flesh going back to the earth, and our spirit going to him, that's an escape. You see, my brothers and sisters, so many people will look at the literal, stop, and they use their own comprehension to believe that's what a passage means, and oftentimes are wrong, failing to see that the scriptures are like flowing water when they are made alive. Come with me to Matthew 13th chapter, verse 24 through 30, my brother, my sister. Come with me as I read. 13:24 of Matthew. Another parable he put before them, saying, the reign of heavens has become like a man who sowed good seed in the field. But when men slept, his enemy came and sowed darnel, some will say tares, among the wheat, and went away. And when the blade sprouted and bore fruit, then the darnel also appeared, or tares also appeared. And when the servants of the master of the house came and said, Master, did you not sow good seed in your field? From where then does it have the darnel, or the tares? And he said to them, an enemy did this. And the servant said to him, do you wish then that we go and gather them up? But he said, no, lest while you gather up the darnel, you also uproot the wheat with them. Let them both grow together until the harvest. And at the time of the harvest, I shall say to the reapers, first gather the darnel and bind them in bundles to burn them, but gather the wheat into my granary. Now, many people take the scripture and think that it's talking about that ultimate judgment day. But as I said, bodies are harvested. Spirits are harvested out of these bodies when we die. And there are those who are bundled up and will go to hell and burn. And there will be those that will be gathered and put in that storage place where our spirits will rest and sleep. Harvest time, O Yashar'al, the realities of life and death are before us. End times are here. We must begin to recognize that we are being trained to prepare for when we are transformed, as the scriptures speak of. Are you ready to receive your training? Are you yielding to truth? Or are you preserving the ego and the challenges from erroneous mores, teachers, pastors, deacons? Understand there are life cycles, Yashar'al. Understanding there are different times of gathering. As I said, there's an ongoing harvest, the gathering of Yashar'al, and the great harvest for Judgment Day, and many other types of harvest. If you planted seeds and they did not grow in the place they were planted, would you relocate them to where they could bud, grow, and produce the desired results you desire? I say to you, the seeds that the Almighty Father Yahuah has planted, that are not growing to their potential, that are outside the promised land, will find that they will grow and thrive once returned to the promised land. Thus, the final exodus is a necessity. It's as simple as moving the seeds to where they need to be so they can grow, and we wait until the physical return of Yahusha Mashiach. We must recognize things happen within a seed. There's a stirring. There's the building up. There's the budding. There's the growth. Just as with a literal seed, so it is with us, O Yashar'al. There's a stirring within inside that causes us to speak in manners which build set-apart life, which support the love, the set-apart behaviors and practices that we are ordered to demonstrate before the world. Come with me, my brother, my sister, my family. Come with me to 2 Timothy 1:6 as I read it. 2 Timothy 1, chapter 1, verse 6. For this reason, I remind you to stir up the gift of the Almighty One which is in you through the laying on of my hands. Here Shaul was saying how he laid hands and caused people's spirit to be stirred. But moreover than anything, it's letting you know there's something that stirs within. And through the judgment and discipline, through the living instructions from the Almighty Father Yahuah, through his word sent to us as a comforter, a teacher, we learn that he stirs within us, that our spirit is made one with him, by him. We will learn the dynamics of a true relationship with Abba Yahuah through Yahusha HaMashiach. By saying Yahusha HaMashiach, we acknowledge that is the plan, that is the pathway in which we are joined with Yahuah, who is indeed the Almighty One. Yahusha represents his word that came physically and spiritually before us, to stir us, to move us, to guide us, to work in us, through us, one towards another. Hebrews chapter 10, verse 24 and 25 says, "And let us be concerned for one another in order to stir up love and good works, not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together as in the habit of some, but encouraging, and so much more as you see the day coming near." The final Exodus, countdown 2023, is coming near, my brothers and sisters. But notice it says, not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together. There are some people who are part of assemblies and believe that they are fulfilling this passage. But if you're in the wrong assembly, if you're with the wrong group, and you're not in a group that you're supposed to be in because you don't have the patience, because you fail to discern where Yahusha is guiding you, you're forsaking your assembly, the assembly you're supposed to be. You see, there are pastors, mores, teachers, deacons, spiritual heads that will tell you you need to assemble. They won't say you need to pray and discern and seek to identify where the Almighty Father wants you to be, whom he wants you to be assembled with, when, and for how long. Most of them do not say that. It's time, O Yashar'al, to recognize the assembly together. There will be small groups gathered in unity who yield to the truth regarding our belief in scriptures, our language, our practices, our behaviors, the way we worship, all that have been instructed. There will be those that will assemble in unity, and there will be those who will hold on to ancient practices that are not older than the Ancient of Days. They're old practices, but they're not older than the Ancient of Days, who is Yahuah, the Almighty One. So I say to you, O Yashar'al, prepare to witness the maturing process within this life cycle, this journey we call life. Let me also read this passage here to you, O Yashar'al. 2 Peter 3, 1 through 9. 2 Peter 3, 1 through 9. "This is now, beloved ones, the second letter I write to you, in which I stir up your sincere mind to remember." And here he's talking about your spirit, my brothers and sisters. Keep in mind that the scriptures have been tampered with, and the different words that the translators use is what they chose. The brain, the mind of the brain, is the flesh, and it will only function on what has been taught, what has been programmed to do. The mind of the spirit, however, that governs the brain and the body, it will function as the Spirit of Yahuah. Send in Yahusha's name, direct us. There is a difference. He goes on to say, "The words previously spoken by the set-apart prophets and of the command of the Master and Savior, spoken by your emissaries. Knowing this first, that mockers shall come in the last days, mocking, walking according to their own lusts." Believe it or not, this speaking of many mores, teachers, pastors, and leaders, community heads, who are mocking the obedient because they fail to discern. They have grown a fellowship, a camp, or community the way they see fit, not according to the ways of the Almighty Father. Remember, the wicked one had their judgment. The scriptures are speaking to the children of Yashar'al to bring discipline, unity, and correction. And there are brothers and sisters that will mock the obedient and bear false witness against them. Pray and watch. We will see many discoveries that prove these words to be true. He goes on to saying, where is the promise of his coming? For since the fathers fell asleep, all continues as from the beginning of creation. Yes, they're Hebrews. There are brothers and sisters. There are Gentiles grafted in as Yashar'al. And they would keep saying, nope, it's not time for the final exit. It's not that time yet. Where is he? If you think it is, when is it? No, it's not that time. So many people read this thinking that the mockers are just talking about those who are not brothers and sisters in set apartness. But believe it or not, we'll be surprised at how many brothers and sisters dismiss the coming of age. He goes on to say, and saying, where's the promise? Okay. For those, 5th verse, for they choose to have this hidden from them, that the heavens were of old and the earth standing out of water and in the water by the word of the Almighty One, through which the word at that time was destroyed. The world at that time was destroyed, being flooded with water. And the present heavens and earth are treasured up by the same word, being kept for fire, to a day of judgment and destruction of wicked men. You see, for the wicked men, that's destruction for them. As destruction comes, those of us who will be in the path of destruction, it's not destruction. We go to sleep. We go into the arms of the Almighty Father to rest where that place is. It doesn't say you go to heaven. It says the spirit returns to him. He being almighty everywhere at all times have a place of which those who face physical death, our spirits will rest and sleep until resurrection time. 3, 8, and 9. But beloved ones, let not this one matter be hidden from you, that with Yahuah 1 day is as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years as 1 day. Yahuah is not slow in regard to his promise, as some count slowness, but in patience towards us, not wishing that any should perish, but that all should come into repentance. Life cycles, my brothers and sisters. Life cycles. It is important, O Yashar'al. It is important that we begin to recognize, discern end-time triggers, the thing that makes us move, the trigger that will make us do what we're supposed to do, the triggers that stir our spirit and causes us to fall into place as the 144,000 and great multitude begin to come together. You will see small groups merge into larger groups, to even larger groups. I believe it would be tens of millions. But when you compare this great multitude to the population on the planet, it is a remnant. It is less than a whole. It is a fraction. And many people cannot see how a large number of people can come together in unity with so many different positions of belief and interpretations of scriptures. But I say to you, O Yashar'al, he who discerns, he who yields, he who obeys, will be participants in proving such a feat can come to be. And as I said, it will be mostly children, for the children will be as new wineskins. There will be teachers and guides and guards, and some older individuals who know what it is to return to where they've fallen, who know what it is to release old habits or old teachings that were wrong. But mostly children, for they will be as new wineskins. And the adults that come will be renewed when they fall into subjection, into correction. We must understand what triggers the correction, what triggers unity being built. And when we begin to recognize that there is a process, there are details, there are things we must go through, we will learn what it takes to grow in unity and in set apartness correctly, my brothers and sisters. And we will have our moments of shouting hallelujah. And we will have our times of weeping. But we must know when it is to focus and stay focused. I talk about Proverbs 4:23 to the end of that chapter that talks about focus. It's so important, O Yashar'al. The beginning and the end. My brother, my sister, you, come with me. We must establish a mind to discern and obey the Almighty Yahuah's voice. He comes in the name of Yahusha, recognizing that it is Yahusha, the name that recognize and represent him pressing forward to us. Bear with me a second, my brothers and sisters, as I bring this to a close. I just want to make a correction, clean up something. It may not be all that to you, but it's something that I wanted to just straighten out. So bear with me just a moment. My brothers and sisters, there are many people that say the Almighty Father told them this, my Ruach or the Ruach said this or that. And there are many people who think that there is not an individual or no one can tell them that the Almighty Father didn't tell them that. Do you honestly believe that the Almighty Father who works in us, through us one towards another, who stirs our spirit, will not reveal to us if he spoke to or through another person? Believe this. If we are all one, those who are drawn by the Almighty Father, and we're walking in obedience, if we can discern his voice, we'll know whether that's his voice speaking or not. And there will be those who will make correction to those who lie. Some do it adamantly without testing the spirit. We must always test the spirit. Does it weigh truthfully? Do our actions weigh truthfully against the scriptures as they are made alive? Or did we step into the eagerness to tell someone that the Almighty Father said this or that? It can happen to any of us, for the flesh war against the spirit. That's why we must vet, we must examine, we must be as iron sharpen iron. We must seek to thoroughly conclude the matter as the Most High guides and directs us, lest we find ourselves being overtaken by deception. Yashar'al, let me read the following as I gradually come to an end. Philippians 1:9-11 says, "In this I pray, that your love might extend more and more in knowledge and all discernment, for you to examine the matters that differ, in order to be sincere and not stumbling into the day of Messiah, being filled with the fruit of righteousness through Yahusha Messiah, to the esteem and praise of the Almighty Father." Discernment is greatly important, vital, and highly possible. Putting things to the test brings answers, brings correction. It uncovers the things that are hidden, that are truthful. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al, the passage I spoke of about focus, Proverbs 4:23-27. Let me read it as we come close to an end as it relates to the beginning and the end, O Yashar'al. Proverbs 4th chapter, verse 23-27 read, "Watch over your heart with all diligence, for out of it are the sources of life." Now this heart is talking about our spirit, my brothers and sisters. Out of our spirit comes the sources of life. This is not talking about when I say the heart is deceitfully wicked. You see, the heart is used in different contexts in the written form. And if you look at it and don't discern the true meaning, then you would be deceived. He said, "Turn away from you a crooked mouth and put perverse lips far from you." See, these people that's trying to tell you this is the true Hebrew, or people who bear false witness, or people who dismiss the words of the obedient and speak wrongly and ill of the obedient, This is perverse lips, a crooked mouth, twisted, bent. Why? Because it's not discerning the voice of Yahuah to speak correctly and to walk with straightness. He said, let your eyes look forward and your eyelids look straight before you. Consider the path of your feet, and all the ways are established. Do not turn to the right or the left. Turn your foot away from evil. In other words, don't have this set apart rule, or should I say, or this rule you think is set apart, say, always go left and you can never make a mistake. Always go right, you'll never mistake. Even we see among groups and countries, and especially in the United States, we see them use the word to the right versus to the left. And you see even ministers, teachers, among Hebrews and among Christian and among other religions in these United States that support the right or the left as they define it from a political perspective. Yashar'al, oh Yashar'al. The time is to recognize what direction that the Almighty Father is telling you, the one in the mirror, to go. And that way will be discovered by considering the ways of our feet, who gives us the energy, the life, the breath to move about, who gives us direction. We will find, O Yashar'al, during these end times, we will know where we're supposed to go. We will know what we're supposed to do. My brother, my sister, my family, serious times, severe times are before us. Uncertainty is running rampant. Death is still increasing. The propaganda machine, the rhetorical mechanisms are spreading narratives to try to give you the so-called hope that everything's going to be all right and the world will return back to normal. The way they are describing that is incorrectly. You who are set apart, make no mistake. These are the final days. The final Exodus preparations have begun. The foreshadow of things to come have been made known and are being made known. What say you, O listen to these words? O viewer of this video, what are you going to do? What is the spirit inside you telling you to do? Stay tuned, O Yashar'al. There is much more to come. Less than 3 years. And those that will be gathered and return back to the promised land. So much work to be done. So many discoveries to be made. Prepare to witness unity among us, O Yashar'al. Yes, there will be unity. And those who are divided against what is set apart will be purged from our midst. And in some cases, we will just have the strength and fortitude to come away from them. Yashar'al, oh Yashar'al. Going forward, you will see me present. I presented this once before. I've set up a Cash App, White Rose Family. If you like to support the things in which I am called to work on, I believe the Almighty Father will soften your heart and you will contribute. For those who haven't, praise be to him. But it says, if you don't ask, and I'm compelled to ask, will you help me? Will you help me build a fund that will acquire land in ownership or lease for the gathering of the set-apart children of Yashar'al before leaving, crossing the ocean? And on that land would be a community. It would be a center. It would be a communications hub for providing supplies and resources and guidance and direction that's in unity with what the Almighty Father is saying to help us be where we're supposed to be in these final days and more. Will you help me? White Rose Family, Cash App. There's no amount that's too small and none too large. And I will make known, part of it will help support me and sustaining myself, sure, I don't need that for YouTube. YouTube is free. But I do need a place to remain, a place to sustain myself until my transition or until my death. Will you help me? Will you help Yashar'al provide a mechanism, a central point that will grow beyond one or two or three individuals, providing succinct and unified direction and guidance as we begin to come together? On that note, oh Yashar'al, stay tuned. There is so much more to come. There is work to be done. I salute your patience and your tolerance. I salute your pursuit of set-apartness. I salute you, yes you, O viewer of this message. For these words, if they stir your spirit, if they demonstrate life before you, strengthen the life and encourage you, it came with a reason, with a purpose. On that note, I say to you, my brother, my sister, my family, be encouraged. Our redemption truly draws near. Take care. Shalom.